Welcome to Type C Tech Reviews. Today we're going to be unboxing the KOORUI 24E4. And at any point during the video you want to check out this exact same monitor, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But let's get this thing unboxed. Which side do we unbox it from? Got it on both sides. We'll try this side. Now this is ridiculously cheap. It's popped up on Amazon. I've seen it for a little bit now everywhere. So I just decided, hey, it's cheap enough. Let's buy it and see how it is. 1080p, 24 inches. Inside, you get a DisplayPort cable, you get a manual and some sort of hook or something, 2 screws in there, a power cable, so that is how the power cable comes. Might be a little bit of a short cable, we'll see. Then you have the bottom part of the stand, which actually has some metal in it, and then plastic over top of it. Still better than a Samsung stand, even like the high-end ones. This is fairly cheap, but overall, like the design isn't terrible, and it's still got metal on the bottom, so that's good. Here's the other side of the stand that actually just screws in there, which is pretty cool, although not a thumb screw, so we are going to need a screwdriver to screw that in. All right, now that's all screwed in. Oh, looks like that's what that cover plate is for the back right here, after you get those screws in. All right, let's get to the panel itself. I've never seen packaging like this on a monitor before. It's very, very strange. This entire thing has to be lifted out, it seems, and then the panel is sandwiched in between it. That's, okay, that's very strange, but whatever. All right, so then we'll lift this out. I'm just gonna lay this flat. All right, so now with this out, we're gonna move this PE foam here, just a little insulation guide, we don't need that. And then we're gonna take the monitor out itself. Fairly light as you'd expect from a 24-inch panel. Back here, we've got what they use for cheaper designs there, which is fine because this is super inexpensive. Let's get this hooked in. We're actually just gonna lay this flat. Panel will be fine on this carpeting. We're gonna get the screws out here. There we got our screws. We're gonna lift this up. Definitely one of the more difficult processes to do, obviously. Much more difficult on camera than it would be just for normal people, but definitely not super easy. I'm not sure if that's even in or not. It didn't seem like the screws like screwed down that much. Let's take this little piece out and let's clip it into the back. Got some plastic over it. Glossy for some reason, okay. And then how does this clip in? Okay, it's gonna go up. All right, so that's how it is. Not too terrible looking. 75mm by 75mm base amount on the back. LG style ports, which I actually do like. They're facing straight back. That's much easier to plug them in. 2 HDMIs, DisplayPort, 3.5mm audio out, everything you would expect. And then you got your DC in. But let's check out what this actually looks like. All right, on the desk, how is the tilt? I do not think I put that stand in all the way. I do think this is me, which is why it's like that. I'll tighten the screws up. I don't know, maybe it's just my angle, but it does have quite a bit of tilt. So there's quite a bit of tilt there. Controls are kind of buried back there. I think I've used a similar menu system on like the Inosa monitors before. Doesn't look like it's gonna be a great one, but who cares? Let's get this thing set up. Let's see how it looks stock, and then let's do a gaming test and a ghosting test, because this is a VA panel, but still 165 hertz. And guys, I got this, it was on sale, so I personally bought this for about 120 bucks. 165 hertz gaming panel, 1080p, $120? Like, that's crazy that we're in a time that you can do that. But yeah, let's get this set up, see how this thing games. All right guys, now with it on the desk, let's turn this thing on. Power button's right here. There we go, it's booting up. I'm expecting this to be fairly dim. Now the thing that I will say is obviously you don't have any height adjustability. This is fairly low on the desk. I would probably prefer this a little bit higher, but there's no adjustability, so you might wanna get a monitor arm. With this actually up, it's fairly dim. It's at 1080p, but it's not doing high refresh rate, so let's set it to 165 hertz. Let's continue going through this. All right, let's hop right into the menu system. Oh God, this is a terrible menu system, but well, what did I expect? Okay, we're gonna go over to, first let's go over to mode. Okay, gonna take a little bit to get used to this menu system. We're gonna go over to mode. We got standard, movie, that changed very little. FPS, definitely brightened it up. RTS, eye saver, which is like your blue light filter probably. All right, let's go to standard, keep it in that. We're gonna go back for now. Menu system is absolutely terrible. We're gonna go into other, let's see what's in there. Okay, that's gamma, stuff like that. Let's go into game and see what's in there. We have our overdrive settings, just an on or an off, so maybe that's actually just a motion blur reduction kind of thing. We have our FreeSync Premium. Let's make sure that is on. It's off right now, but let's turn it on. All right, now let's go over into color. We have cool and we have warm. We're gonna keep it in warm for now. And then we also have DCI P3, which is kind of cool, although I don't expect this to be very accurate. We have the red, green, and blue. But what we're looking for here is, well, we were already in mode before. Oh, probably in display. I don't know how I missed that. Yeah, here we want the brightness. Let's go in there. It's at 90. Turning it up from 90 to 100 turned it up way more than only a 10% figure, but okay. So out of the box, the brightness is honestly not as bad as I thought, although it's not going to probably push over 300 nits. The viewing angles from the front, it looks okay-ish, right? It's pretty good. The colors are good for what you would expect, but viewing angles definitely start degrading pretty quickly. This is absolutely the best. Right about there is definitely discoloration, and here is basically completely grays out the whole display. Now, the one thing that I'm noticing right away, kind of a downside, is that, and we'll open a little browser right here. You won't be able to see this on camera, but there's a pretty bad matte finish here. There are good matte finishes. Well, no real matte finishes are good, but there are better and worse ones that are less noticeable on screen. This one's pretty bad, so it has kind of that oil slick effect to it. But again, for 120 bucks, the fact that, well, I mean, the colors are vibrant enough. It's harder to adjust this, especially because I don't think I screwed that in all the way. I definitely did not screw that in all the way. It's about to fall off. But that's enough said. Okay, for 120 bucks, you have to kind of like retrain your brain. It's hard for me to even comprehend that it's that little amount of money for 165 hertz. I mean, look at this. Well, you can't see that, but it's very fluid. All right, let's hop in game, see how this thing does. All right, guys, hopping right in game. First of all, it's shocking that a display is this cheap and you get 165 hertz, regardless of anything. 120 bucks. There's a lot of ghosting though. I mean, that's the one thing. There is a lot of ghosting. It kind of looks like you have like a blur on in the game, but it's also 120 bucks. Like, it's a VA panel at this cheap price. I think this is maybe the cheapest gaming monitor I've ever tested, and you have that refresh rate, and that's shocking. So it's hard for me to say, no, you shouldn't buy this, because for that price, it's like, oh my God. But there definitely does appear to be some ghosting. We are gonna do a ghosting test, a UFO test right after this. But I mean, you can see that I'm getting kills. This is not insanely dim. It's definitely not crazy bright, but for the price, I mean, I was actually expecting it to be a little bit dimmer. The colors look as vibrant as you would expect from a monitor like this, maybe a little bit more vibrant than you would expect. It's not terrible. The ghosting does seem to be very intrusive though, but again, it's something where you have to kind of lower your expectations and expect that. Right? You have to expect that at this price point. You can definitely see, especially here, whoa, there is a lot. Is this something that I would want to use every single day? Probably not. However, would I rather use a IPS panel that is like an office monitor that's nicer, like a $500 office monitor? I would probably use this. I mean, the gains of having this be high refresh rate for that price is ridiculous. So, you know, beggars can't be choosers, and in this case, this is a really good display for someone who doesn't have a huge budget and wants to buy something new. Yeah, okay. What else would you expect from something like this? It could be worse than this and still be worth it. And obviously this isn't a full review, just the initial impressions. I'm impressed with this. Let's do the ghosting test. I'm expecting this to be pretty bad here, but again, 120 bucks, what do you expect? Let's get in here and see it. Yeah. It's pretty bad. It's actually not the worst out there, but yeah, it's definitely quite noticeable during gameplay, something that you definitely will. Let's see if there's some different overdrive settings we can set this in. Was it that in game, or I'm not sure. Okay, we'll try this, but I think that's going to be like a motion blur reduction. Nope, okay, so you have your overdrive settings on or off, right? Because that is going to be your motion blur reduction right there. This, I think that's what it does. Although it appears to change the image as well, rather than just affecting ghosting, it brightens up the image. Although that may, I don't know. Overall, yeah, there's smearing. There's a lot of smearing. If you are used to an older VA panel, this may be better than that, but not by a whole lot. However, the fact that you can get 165 hertz, a 1080p 24-inch monitor for $120. Now, I think the list price, we'll check right now. Here's what we got. Currently, it's $120. It's been like that for a little bit now, so I don't know about that, but list price is $200. Now, for $200, no, I do not recommend this. I can tell you that right away. No, I don't recommend this, but for $120, $130, possibly $140, I mean, you can't go wrong. 165 hertz and 1080p, and yeah, you have some smearing, but if you're spending that much money, you may have never even used high refresh rate before, which means yes, this is an absolute upgrade and an easy and cheap way to do it. But let's say this is around list price and you're seeing this around list price. Don't buy this this is what you should buy. Now, this is the LG 24GN650. It is an IPS panel. You can either get it in the 650 variant or the 600 variant, which all it does is give you a nice height adjustable and tilt and swivel stand and whatever else you want, although it doesn't do swivel, actually, it does rotation. But for around $200, usually you might be able to find this a little bit less than that. That's a significantly better monitor overall. But around $120, I mean, what is the competition at this price point? I mean, yeah, this definitely works. And if you want to mount this, that's probably what I would recommend. Get yourself a monitor arm. We have some reviews of that on the channel. But again, if you want to check out this or the 24GN650, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. This is not the review. The review will be coming in a few days where I go over everything in depth, do tests on them, and then do the final review. All right, this is Type-C Tech Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next video.